Get on to rock, get up to burn, stand with the pride, ever feel your desire. One day I noticed that my life was...
Freaking finally, we now have a proper sequel to Guilty Gear XX. Unfortunately, it won't be long until we get Guilty Gear XR Alpha Beta Gamma Double Slash Delta Hyper Neo Geo Super Remix. Regardless of that, I am excited to finally have a chance to play Guilty Gear XR. With a new engine, new characters, and a new story, I'm more than excited to dive into this title. Hands down, this is easily one of the most beautiful 2D fighting games I have ever played. The character models are absolutely stunning and the anime style is extremely well done. Sometimes I get lost in the visual spectacle of the battles and just become awestruck by the vivid imagery, and the awesome soundtrack is a great compliment to it. It really is like watching an HD episode of Dragon Ball Z or Full Metal Alchemist. By the way, go watch Full Metal Alchemist. As a fan of Guilty Gear, I'm glad to see some of my favorite characters back in action. It's cheesy to say this, but they haven't looked better than this. Unfortunately, not everyone is back and not everyone is playable. For example, my girl Dizzy is in the story mode, but she isn't playable, while Jam is nowhere to be found. Not even a mention. Oh well, they'll both be returning in the next XR game playable, so I shouldn't complain too much. The story is a huge focus in this Guilty Gear, much more than other games. Instead of each character having his or her own dedicated story, it's all woven into one. Every single fighter in the game appears in the story mode, whether significant or not. But don't worry, the arcade mode still features intros and outros for each character, plus special battles. We will get into the arcade mode later. For now, let's focus on the story mode. Unfortunately, it is completely non-interactive, so grab some popcorn, sit back, and enjoy the anime. I will admit though, watching the story mode gets extremely boring at certain parts, especially early on. It feels like the characters are just moping around and waiting for the next battle, instead of actually making strides to their goal. But boy, when the story picks up, it picks up. This goes without saying, but the animation is fantastic with vivid colors, badass imagery, and balls to the wall mayhem. The action is nothing short of superb, and the power the characters wield is ridiculous. While the action and animation are top notch, the story is kinda meh. It isn't bad necessarily, but just didn't really keep me invested as much as I would have liked to. I did ultimately grow to relate and like some of the characters like Sin, but the plot was honestly weak. Plus, there is a lot of stuff, especially in the beginning, that doesn't really tie into the story at all. In addition, certain characters like Zato 1 are powerful as hell, but don't really play a huge role in the story. A bit disappointing in all honesty. By the way, why is almost every scene shot like this with two people at opposite ends talking? It looks dumb and low budget having two characters in the same room speaking to each other like this. Enough about the story. Let's get into the reason why Guilty Gear is awesome, and that simply is the fighting. I know it's a bit corny to say this, but the fighting in this title is easily the best in the series while staying true to its roots. It is still very air dashy like Ark's other title Blaze Blue, but easily stands out on its own. Every battle is an adrenaline rush. Maintaining offensive momentum is the key to victory. The moment you let up on your opponent is when you lose momentum and you're on the defensive, doing everything you can to get back swinging. The fast pace keeps you on your toes, keeping newbies enthralled on what will happen next, while simultaneously offering great depth and complexity to keep players invested in the long run. The instant kills in this game, man, holy crap do they look fantastic. A majority are great, but one of my favorites is with Soul Bad Guy. He straight up annihilates his opponent and shows just how much of a badass he is. Man, I love this game. As I alluded to earlier, the characters are just awesome as they all are very unique in their own way, not only within the game, but in the fighting game universe. I did a roll call for characters during my Guilty Gear XX Reloaded review, so I'll do the same for some of the new characters. Ramlethal, one of the Valentines that apparently have no emotion, until they do. She's not that weird, just an unemotional chick with two flying dodgeballs that carry her giant weapons around magically. For many characters, Ramlethal will be the end boss in the arcade mode. Not too cheap, but definitely not a pushover. Bedman, a dude that fights with, what else? A freaking bed. A bed that's pretty much a robot. It's darn impressive for someone to kick your ass without ever getting out of bed. I respect that. He's definitely a cool fighter to play as, a bit of a weirdo, but fun nonetheless. The game offers a nice package to keep players busy, and the first I will begin with is the standard arcade mode. As I've mentioned, the characters have both intros and outros. The cool thing is that whatever color you choose to wear actually reflects in the cutscenes. It's such a minor thing, but pretty cool nonetheless. From fighting, watching the story mode, and pretty much fighting, you gain credits which can be used to purchase artwork, various extras, and characters. Unfortunately, the amount of money it takes to unlock characters is too damn high. Medal of Millionaires makes a return once again. It is a very unique mode in its own right. You take your character along to the grid to challenge opponents. Once you beat them, you unlock more opponents you can fight. It is basically like an expanded survival mode with new elements mixed in. The medals that you gain during battles can be used to upgrade your character by purchasing new skills, new items, and so forth. The amount of medals gained per match is definitely on the lower side, so you'll constantly be fighting over and over again just to get a bit better the next time around. MOM mode gives you a reason to keep playing the game outside of the arcade and online mode. You also have your traditional practice mode, challenges, missions, and a tutorial mode to help familiarize yourself with the game. There definitely isn't a lack of content on display here. If I had to ask for one more thing, it would be a color edit for the characters' costumes, but it really is such a minor thing. If you want to familiarize yourself more with the lore and what exactly is going on, there is an encyclopedia to tell you everything. Within the story mode, you can also access the glossary in case you get a bit confused on what the characters are referring to when they say that man or the Gear Wars. Whew. So that was Guilty Gear Xr'd, and I have one thing to say. What a rush. What else is there to say? The graphics are awesome, the characters are awesome, the fighting is awesome, the voice acting is awesome, and the soundtrack is flipping fantastic. I didn't plan on this, but Guilty Gear Xr'd sign, you get the patented Powerhouse Ultimate recommendation. You freaking deserve it wholeheartedly. Thank you guys for being a part of this historic celebration, and thank you Arc System Works for delivering this title. Now please, don't make this game 7 more times or you'll end up on the wrong side of the scale. This is Powerhouse, signing off.
Time will wait for us, so I thought. I've been grass out of luck, it's just the usual stuff and all. But where your footsteps go, what am I doing?